Good evening, cult members, and welcome to Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
Welcome to our What the F Just Happened reaction and review to the Acolyte. This is episode 5, and it's called Night. Because there's been doing, parallels through all the titles and everything.
Right. Twins.
Me being correct on who the Sith Lord was, or the Sith person was, the Sith Master, can't take that victory. Because everybody's effing dead.
Except Sol, May, and Osha. And Basil.
Really what it comes down to is we're here to protect Basil. Spoilers for if you've gotten this far and haven't just realized what we're doing. We were told that this was the episode that Leslie Headland was very excited for everybody to see. I can understand why now.
Right.
And I also had a moment of refreshment in my love for this show over this last week, because something came to me that I had forgotten in all the discord about this show over the last 4 weeks, and that is it's a mystery show.
It's a murder mystery. Yes.
Specifically, it's a murder mystery, but it's a mystery show. Star Wars fans want every canon correct explanation for everything that they see and hear. And when you do a mystery show or a mystery story, you give no details until it's time for the twist of what's going on. And I think a lot of people lost that. And I bring all that up because this is not the twist.
Right.
They gave us Chimeras, they laid it out in front of us the last couple of weeks that he is the Sith Lord. They gave us all the clues. That is the false narrative that they wanted us to follow. There is a deeper, darker secret going on in the next 3 episodes.
Right. I mean, Saul, there's something that happened with Saul that we still don't know about. And I don't know. I don't know, because May had every opportunity to correct Osha when they were talking at the end. And Osha, was like, you burned our home down and you were responsible for the deaths of our families. And all she said was, we were both following a false master or something like that.
Yeah.
But she didn't deny it.
Yeah.
And so I still don't know.
And I really, really like the storytelling. That they're telling this deconstruction story of the Jedi. And also building up the overall universe of Star Wars with other versions of, the way people see the Force and other types of witches and all that kind of different conversation in this deconstruction of the Jedi. But I can't get over the idea that the storytelling that it's been complaining about is
I wouldn't say everybody.
You're 100% correct. You're 100% correct.
Star Wars trolls. They're not even fans. They probably didn't even watch the episodes. There's some dark subreddit that tells everybody, it's the same one that tells everybody to go buy, GameStop stock or whatever, right? It's along the same lines that they all okay, this is the one that there's going to be lesbians. You all need to go comment bomb and I guarantee you these people aren't even watching the episodes. So honestly, you should stop giving them any kind of credit.
That's fair, and I it's kind of hard not to get sucked into it when I want to defend the thing that I love the most.
But you're defending it to somebody that doesn't
exist, and that's on me to get better about. I will own that I need to be better about that. But for the aspects of this show, I want to sit there and tell them now everything that you've been bitching about in the last 4 episodes was presented to you in this episode. And there's a badass dude kicking ass.
Yeah.
And we talked about it, I think, last week, was let's have a fair criticism of the series once the end of the series is done. And I just don't know if I don't know if enough people will have that, will want that, and that's fine. Let's talk about the fight itself,
which was most of the episode.
The episode starts with Osha waking up after being tossed to the side out of the way, and she stumbles to her feet and stumbles out to where the explosion happened at the end of the last episode, and one of the red shirt Jedis is dead, and she sees the Sith Lord fighting in the background on the side against all of the other Jedi.
Right.
The only ones I don't remember seeing in that little exchange was Sol and Jackie.
Right.
Yord was in there, but all the other red shirts were there. And the Sith Lord is fighting in a style that even Yord talks about later on, is he's fighting in a way that's not honorable.
Right.
And they show it. They show him with kicks and punches, and he's got some kind of metal vambrace and his helmet that deactivate lightsabers.
Yep.
For a short amount of time, but they still deactivate for a couple of minutes. And so he's just blazing through all of them.
Yep.
One of the criticisms that some fair criticism, I'm not going to say the trolls criticism, but one of the fair criticisms that people have been having lately about modern Star Wars is that everybody survives a lightsaber thrust to the belly, and
right.
Qui-Gon didn't, right?
Right.
And so they show him, the Chimere, stabbing one of the Jedi, red shirt Jedis, and then force pulling the other one to him, so he's got two skewers to two.
Yeah.
Then pulls it out and does the sweeping motion to cut their heads off. Now, we don't see their heads being cut out.
Right, it's blocked by a tree.
It's blocked by a tree.
Disney.
But, you have that question? Ta-da!
Right. And, I mean, there's been medical experts who have come out and said, depending on where you get stabbed with a lightsaber, you could actually survive being stabbed. And just like you can survive being stabbed today in the belly by a sword, by an actual sword. Now, back in the day, perforated bowel and it's all over. There's nothing they can do about that. But today, as long as you get to the hospital at some point in time, you're fine.
Yeah. But in that exchange, you see the whole how good Chimere is as a fighter.
Yeah.
And how, even Osha shoots him with the gun, the stun gun.
Yeah.
And he just kind of, brushes it off and, looks over at her.
Hit his pauldron and did nothing.
Yeah. And so, the only way we actually get, the point that we get to, Jackie jumping into the fight after subduing May. And that fight was really awesome, too.
Yep.
Really well done between the two of them. Amanda Sandberg and Daphne King really were doing a really good job. There's a reason they hired Daphne King. Daphne King. The reason that they hired her is because she is actually very physical anyways, and so having both of them to do that fight was amazing. Well, Jackie jumps into the fight finally and is holding her own with the Sith Lord, with Chimera, for quite a while.
Yeah,
And,
she was wrecking him.
and finally Soul jumps in, and the two of them start tag teaming. And the only way they were able to really get him on the back foot was to start putting punches and kicks in like he was doing to the rest of them.
Right.
Up until that point, after Jackie's fight with May, everybody had just been doing lightsaber forms.
Yeah.
And it was Jackie who had just had this fisticuffs fight with May. She jumps in with Kalnaka's blade and starts two-fisting it essentially, and hits him a couple times in the face and breaks the helmet off of his head. And then she breaks his helmet off of his head. This was when I was like, oh dear God, they've killed all the red shirts. And then we get the reveal of it's Chimera all along, and he snaps his lightsaber in half, and the bottom half is like a shorter sword. I'm trying to remember the Japanese term for it. And he 3 times thrusts her in the chest with it. So, oh my God, are you kidding me? They killed off one of the major characters in the show in the 5th episode.
Yep.
That's when Osha and Yord come back with the flying cockroaches because they brought reinforcements, and Yord picks up the helmet because now he's figured out that the helmet deactivates
Yes, it's made of something.
something that will get explained. Everybody, calm down. And he hits the lightsaber. Yord's lightsaber gets hit by the fan brace, so now it's a fisticuffs fight, and Yord is holding his own, and Chimera does the spin move and snaps Yord's. That's when I was like, are you kidding me?
Nobody's getting out alive.
So
Everybody's gonna die.
So the only ones left from the original cast is Soul, May, Osha, and Chimera.
Right.
Everyone else in the show is dead, outside of like the small council Jedi
People that aren't, the people that are in
Right.
Coruscant or whatever.
Right. But Inara is dead, Torben is dead, Kelnaka is dead, Yord is dead, Jackie's dead. Like all it is definitely a subversion of Star Wars expectations to do nobody is safe in a show.
Yeah. Yep. And then you have the whole, what's Soul gonna tell Osha, except it's not Osha, it's May.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, we have multiple ways that can come out, right? That because Basil has Pip's head, which Osha attached to Chimera as a light,
Right. To attract the flying cockroaches.
Right. So either she's gonna be like, he's gonna try to hand it to her, and she's gonna be like, "What is this?" and not recognize that it's Pip, her beloved droid. He also appears to be able to smell that it's not her because he was sniffing, and then Saul Saul might inadvertently tell May what he was gonna
Tell
Osha.
Yeah.
Which could just set May off, I knew it was you the whole time, or whatever it is he's about to reveal, and reveal that she's not Osha. And oh, by the way, Osha's now stuck in this not great forest, and Chimera healed her and then put a blanket or a coat or something.
It was his cape. That cape thing.
And he knows it's not May. He knows it's Osha. So yeah. So and now what's gonna happen?
And his speech at the end was very much the what did we learn from this? Or it was very Edgar Allan Poe, is what I said right after. But it sounds familiar, but I don't know it. So I have to like. We just watched the episode. We just jumped in.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody will tell us in the next couple of days what it is.
And then the dark side music, as he's because I said it was Sith, but it's not, because it's Darth Vader. It's oh my God, not Rey, not Poe.
Kylo.
Kylo, thank you. Adam Driver. No, it's his music. It's
definitely got that kind of
Yeah. No, that was it. That was the horns. That was the music.
Right.
Do 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 do.
Yeah.
At the very end, after he says his little speech, it was. So I don't know what that means, because it's not. It's dark. It's dark side music. It's not Sith music. It's the Empire music, right?
Yeah, and he made a point too when Soul asked him who he is, and he's like, "I have no name, but you can call me Sith."
Right.
Or I have been called Sith, and I find it interesting that they finally just came out and said it. Like, I didn't expect them to say, "I am Sith."
Right.
I expected them to be, I live by a passion that the Jedi cannot achieve. And he even had that kind of comment and that kind of speech going anyways.
Yeah.
With the whole calling out Soul for attacking an unarmed person, and what was the other one he did? See what happens when you have so many rules. He talked about the rules, and I can live by whatever rules. And Soul even asks him what he wants, and he said, we want to be able to live
in the open.
As we see, as we see ourselves. So this is not at least as its way it's presented, as I feel it is, that it's being presented right now. Chimera is not I am evil for evil's sake. I want to rule everything or whatever.
Right.
It very much is being presented as I want to live as an open practicer of the dark side of the Force. Right. And I can't do that because the Jedi have said I can't.
Right. And there's the whole... where there's one, there's two.
Right, the rule two,
So there has to be another one, because I don't feel like he was grooming May to become his other one. So there has to be another one. And I feel like that other one might actually be the more powerful, the Palpatine of the two.
Yeah.
Which then, makes you wonder if he's not maybe in it all the way, but more of a Kylo kind of way. Like, I feel I've been personally wronged by the hypocrisy of the Jedi, and this is the opposite of that. I'm gonna go follow the opposite.
Right. If he was absolute evil, when Osha was down and hurt, he would have killed her.
Yeah.
But he healed her.
Right.
And then covered her up.
Yeah.
Like he knows it's Osha. And he's not pure evil for evil's sake.
Right.
Kylo played the part of evil.
Right, because he was pissed off at his dad.
He was pissed off at the Luke and the universe and everything else. He also had a voice in the back of his head spoiling him. That's not the right word. Corrupting him.
Yeah.
And even in this episode, Yor talked about how the Sith Lord, whoever Yor didn't know who it was, Chimera at that point in time, but he was saying that he was in his head, like he doesn't, when he was talking about how he doesn't fight fair, he talked about in there that he's in your head and messing with it the entire time, and so like that idea that I like the idea that he is not the master, that is the big twist, that Soul did something very dark side because Chimere told him, I embraced my dark side. What did you do with your dark side?
Right.
And which I think was what's going to be kind of explained next week. Or maybe not even next week. Maybe not until the final 5 minutes of the 8th episode. But he his Chimere's kind of way he's been presented. I loved the red herring of it all, and I love that they laid it out in front of us to say this is what it is, and then the reveal happens, and we're all like, okay, yes, we're right. But this is episode 5. There has to be something bigger down the line. Now, in typical murder mystery kind of storytelling, you either do one of two things. You solve the mystery in the last 5 minutes of the story, the last little bit of the story.
Right.
Or you have a midstream twist that changes the whole process.
Right.
Changes the whole story. And then from there...
All the Knives Out.
And I was just going to say, Rian Johnson has talked to Leslie Headland. Leslie Headland and Rian Johnson have talked about the storytelling process, specifically about Star Wars, but also just overall storytelling, because they both like that kind of storytelling. So if this was me not knowing anything of Leslie Headland as creator, I would have said this is a Rian Johnson joint.
Yeah.
This is a very much of a Rian Johnson kind of storytelling point where we get to the 1/3 point, the 2/3 point. There's a severe twist. The twist was it was Chimere all along. All of those red herrings are there. Now everybody's dead. But now we go into next week with all of these extra questions.
Yeah.
Why did May switch with Osha? She's going to try to kill Saul on the ship?
Yeah.
What's the big secret with Saul? And what's going to happen if they make it back to Coruscant and they have this meeting with the small council?
Right.
And Kitty Monday is going to be there the entire time going, this can't be true. This can't be true.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of the kind of the complaining last week, is that how Kiana being there is breaking canon. You missed the point. Kiana being there, he's the naysayer the entire time during the prequels. So having him be a younger version of himself saying, this can't be the real thing.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that conversation to happen. It wasn't really a Sith Lord. You're lying. There's 7 dead Jedi back there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. What do you think happened?
But I think I think the way they've been presenting everything has led us, obviously, everything they've presented has led us to this point.
No.
But it's been presented in a way that I think ultimately is amazing storytelling. And we talked about it earlier about the bitching on the internet about like certain things. And I think a lot of people have missed that point. Now, what I'm interested in is, what does this mean for the story going forward? Because they're already discussing a season 2, which means there must be some kind of cliffhanger at the end that if Chimere gets killed, we find out who the real Sith Master is, and we roll on.
And I feel like there's 100 years worth of storytelling that could be, that can happen here. Everybody was done with the Skywalker saga until they weren't, and they wanted that all back. You don't miss it till it's gone, and then you do. So yeah, there's 100 years worth of stuff that they can expand on and expound on. So they can do more seasons. They can branch out. I think that
let's do 3 seasons or 4 seasons to get to Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Yeah.
Like let's get to where Plagueis is
at least tie the prequels to this time. We don't need to go any further, but at least get to that point, the halfway point or whatever, where you can tie that all together. And I think that there's probably a lot of people out there, and maybe some of the people that are complaining or not, that aren't super deep into the lore
Right.
and the have read all the comics and all of the books and don't understand kind of where this all ties in or how this ties in, and
Right.
so
A couple of things we always talk about. The cinematography was awesome. Again, with the blocking and just the way they use the terrain.
the two of them, May and Osha together,
Yeah.
like that was pretty seamless.
Yeah, they've done a really good job of identifying both OSHA and May separately. Even though Amanda is playing both characters, they've had a really good job of like one has short hair, one has long hair.
Right.
May's got the long hair, and that whole scene before they hug, and May says, "I love you." What? Like,
Yeah.
You like.
Yeah.
But that whole it's a over the shoulder shot. So one was always in frame, but shot
Right.
over the shoulder to look at the other
Right.
one. That's how
So
they
you have a
hide.
double.
That's how they
Yeah.
hide the double.
Yeah.
But then they hugged and they did that circle around them.
Yeah.
Like they were halfway through that circle. I'm like, oh, this looks amazing.
Yeah, they did a really good job. You can't really tell the cuts in there.
Yeah. And then the only other thing I want to talk about is the fight choreography. It's like duh at this point in time with the show. They've done an amazing job with the fight choreography and just frantic, fast, quick moving, different levels, but easy to keep track of.
Yeah.
And even through the trees and the
Yeah.
bushes with the lightsabers and how everything was going, you can keep track of how the fight was going by the different colors of the lightsabers. If you just follow the red one,
Yeah.
you kind of see what was going on. But the integrating of punches and kicks and not just necessarily force pushes in the middle of a lightsaber fight was very not something that we've seen a lot of in Star Wars.
Yeah. I just thinking about that. It's interesting that
Maul did it, but
they didn't all gang up and try to force push him around over whatever so that they could jump on him.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I've been in some major warfare or whatever, but I've been in large scale fights of several hundred people to a side, and I have been isolated against many other people, and I have been part of a group that tried to isolate one person, and it's one of a pet peeve for me when it comes to fighting. I know how to take one person out when there's three or more of us.
Yeah. Everybody, typically it's like, it's a circle and the one person's in the middle and everybody attacks one at a time. It's like, why?
Yeah. And they did show in this fight, which is why I'm not complaining about it, that he was fighting two over here, force pushing him out of the way and spinning around to block the one behind him.
Yeah.
So they were actually trying to, but he also put him in a box of in tight with the trees instead of the opening where he had just exploded everybody out.
Yeah.
So that limits the area, which is if I was by myself against three or more individuals, that's exactly what I would do. I would limit the area where they could. I don't have to worry about my back because I have the wall behind me. I can just worry about what's in front of me.
Yep.
So they did a good job with that. That's why I wanted to bring it up. And then the fight, like I said, with Jackie and May was really good. And then the fight with May and Osha, them kind of just doing jujitsu moves on each other, a counter, and then May just force pushes her to fall off the ledge and knock herself out, and she says, "You were never able to block."
Yeah.
So it was a very simple, easy style, but it was nice to see that kind of different kind of style than we just saw with the sword fighting and the kicks and the punches and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah.
All right, so I think that's everything for this episode. Let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments down below. Please be nice; it's absolutely required. Like I said, ban hammers over there. I'm not afraid to use it. And like this video. And if you're on the podcast feed, follow us there. If you're on YouTube, follow us here. It's a click of the button. It costs you nothing. And follow us on all the social media stuff, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Links in the description down below. And until next time, cult members, good afternoon, Good afternoon. What the hell just happened? Good grief. For Light and Life,